Oh,
You are the perfect Ned.
yeah, so
But
funny.
speaking of Ned, when you run up to Bill Murray and you don't know who I am, and you punched him in the stomach on his belly,
Yes.
was it improv or was it in the script?
No, that was totally but that was after, we had done some scenes where Bill had roughed me up. But what I did is, I'll tell you what I did, because I had taken combat in college, theater combat, how to do sword fighting, how to do fake falls and things like that. So I said to Bill, is it okay if I hit you? And he says, well, how are you going to hit me? So I measured my blow I measured my blow to his belt, and I said, just like this, because I was going to keep the exact same distance. He goes, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, but Harold Ramis didn't know we were going to do that. and that was pretty good. And the fall, the punch, that was from college combat. Where they told us how to take a fall, and how to take a punch and do it. And so Bill does the timing. So when he goes back, that's my signal to start. And then he goes through, he misses me. I do a turn and land, and they had a pad for me to land on. And I just said to Harold Ramis, where do you want me to look after Bill punches me? Because I'm going to turn around and then freeze and look at something. Is courthouse good? The courthouse across the way. And he says, well, you can do that. You can stop and yeah, you just turn and stop and look wherever you're going to look. So I turned, stopped, looked at the courthouse, and then fell out of frame. And Harold Ramis said, yeah, look at the courthouse. Yeah. So so we only did really 4 takes of the punch, but Harold Ramis said after the first take we have it. But they just did a few more to see if anything would happen better. But I think he used the first one.
Is it true that the scene in the restaurant wasn't in the script originally, and you wrote it in or put it
Oh,
in,
yeah,
if you
yeah,
remember?
yeah, yeah. That was that was when we were all running out of time, and Harold Ramis said, there's still another scene with you. And I said, what scene is that? He says, we're still working on it. We're still working on it. And so I'm like, I'm getting nervous. I didn't know what it is. So I'd say to Harold, so what is the scene about? He says, oh, it's just about, we're going about how Bill is helping all the different people in the community. So it's just how he helped you. And so I went back to my trailer and I said, okay, if worse comes to worse, since I'm the one who's going to have to talk, let me think what this is. So we had this uh, insurance man, Dennis Sokol, very sweet guy. And Dennis was always, Stephen, got something great for you. Got a great idea. In this new insurance, we have death and dismemberment. We have, water damage. He would always say the things that could be in extras on my insurance policy. So I tried to write down all the things I remembered Dennis said. And then I we went in and talked to Harold Ramis. He says, well, we don't really have a script. What do you guys want to do? And I said, well, I wrote this in my dressing room. What do you guys think? And so Harold Ramis looked at it. I said it to Bill, and I said, do you have a last joke? You should have a last joke. And then Bill came up with the last joke, and with Andy, leaving without me. And then so we did it. And then Bill came back and just said, maybe on the next take, just say, I got that. So Bill came up with the blow of the scene, or with me leaving, I got that. And the whole reason was we only had the lodge, the Foreign Legionnaire Lodge in this little town for 3 days or whatever. And we were done. We had no more time. We only had an hour before we were going to be kicked out of the place. So basically we just did it. I think we did like 1 or 2 takes of it, and that was it. And it ended up in the movie. And I got no writer's credit for it. None at all. It's so sad. No, nothing, 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 nothing. But that's the price we pay. That's the price we pay for playing in the big leagues. It's one of the best comedic scripts ever. Yeah, and what we did was just Harold Ramis trying to repatch with Danny Rubin, repatch the fairy tale quantity of the movie that Bill had totally changed. And now he was helping everybody in town. So we had Bill helping all sorts of people in town, getting the tickets for the wrestling, for the couple on the dance thing, and Bill playing the piano at the
Helping the choking guy, buying
and
all insurances from you.
all the insurance for me, and that he had learned the piano from the music teacher from taking lessons for 1,000 years, whatever. I remember I asked Harold Ramis how long Bill is trapped in town, and Harold Ramis said 10,000 years. He said went to a party and Harold was sitting on the ground out in the garden playing his guitar. It was very idyllic. And first thing I did, I came up and said, I got to know, how long is Bill trapped in the town in this movie? He says, well, Stephen, I am a practicing Buddhist. And as a Buddhist, we believe it takes 10,000 years to perfect the human soul. And that is the story of Groundhog Day, the story of the perfection of the human soul. That was from Harold Ramis.
We leave that open. But I have to say in Groundhog Day, there is a rumor out there that you almost lost the role to Kurt Fuller, who is also a great actor. Kurt Fuller.
No, Kurt is a great actor, and it was Kurt and I were doing a movie at the time. He was playing my deaf mute brother. We were playing a couple of henchmen, tough guys, and he was playing my
Was it Calendar Day? A Calendar Girl?
calendar girl,
Calendar Girl. I think it was Calendar Girl.
calendar girl. I think
I
calendar
think
girl.
so. Same year,
And
93. I think same year.
something, yeah, right before Groundhog Day. And so the only time in my life that they ever put me, because we were shooting out of town. We were shooting out of town in a little place in California. The only time in my life they put me up with another actor in the hotel room. I mean,
In
that's
one room.
unheard of.
One room.
It's in one room
With Kurt Fuller.
with Kurt Fuller, two double beds. So yeah, I mean, we had two double beds. He's here. It's like we're at camp out. And my agent had called me and they said that they want you to leave the set if you have some time and drive back to Los Angeles, which is something like 2 hours and 40 minutes, audition for Harold Ramis and drive back. And it's for the part of Ned in Groundhog Day. And so, I read the script and I go like, okay, so I worked on the first speech and then we go to shoot the movie with Kurt and I. And we're in this room at night. And the next day is the day I am supposed to shoot in the morning, then drive the 2.5 hours to LA, audition for Harold Ramis, then drive the 2.5 hours back to this place we were at. So we're like kids at a camp out. And Kurt did the actor question, which people usually do, what, you have anything coming up? And I go, not really. There are auditions, who knows, nothing really. I said, how about you? And he goes, well, yeah, I'm going to play this really crazy part, this great thing of Ned Ryerson in Groundhog Day with Bill Murray. And I'm going like, oh God, this is a terrible story. This is like the worst story in the world. So I didn't say, well, I'm leaving tomorrow after work to audition for the same
For the
part.
same role.
Yeah, the same role. So I don't know if it's written in stone. So I went on the audition. I did everything horrible you could imagine. Harold Ramis wanted to read with me, which was nuts. I mean, I've never had to read with the director for a part in anything because it's terrifying to read with the director. And so I was just all over Harold Ramis. I was doing the first thing. Oh, Phil, me. You know, I'm all over. I was unbuttoning his shirt. I started undoing his pants, unzipping his pants. Harold Ramis is trying to pull his pants up. I go down. I'm shining his shoes, you know, with my tie. I'm doing all sorts of things, you know. Blah, 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 blah. Harold Ramis is laughing so hard, you know, he can't go. Howard Fuhrer, who was our casting director, it's just wonderful man, wonderful man. Uh, you know, so I drive back, and on the way back home, I get the call on the phone. The phones were like this back then, you know, like
Like
army
we
phones.
call that bones.
this this kind of stuff where I'm driving with the army phone, and it says my agent said you got the part. You got the part. So I found out, and I came back, and apparently they had told Kurt, and he was furious, and he was hurt, and he was betrayed, and he was. I mean, not by
But
me, but
one had to be either you or
just
Kurt.
horrified
Yeah,
because they
either
certainly
you
made
or
him.
Kurt. So in that case, it was Kurt.
Yeah, I mean, because you know, Kurt and I were always in tons of stuff because they needed two guys that were bald. It's important to be baldness is an important part of this, and that could do dramedy or comma, yeah, comedy or drama, and we're tall. You know, we're the same height, the same size, everything. So it just depends which flavor you want, and so you know, we both have done a ton of things.
Have you ever asked why you and not Kurt Fuller
No,
got the part?
no,
No.
no. I never did. I just assumed it was. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's just the way Harold Ramis was seeing the part now. You know, maybe I was more extreme than Kurt. I don't know, because Kurt's pretty extreme too. I don't know, but whatever it is, it was lucky for me.